Now, fans, this is the point of the show we've been waiting 4 days for. This is the point of the show where Mark Rogers is going to piss off Miami fans and Florida fans simultaneously. It's the moment.
That was a quick transition.
Mark Rogers, take it away. You're going to do what I've done for 94 weeks, 95 weeks. You're going to do what Logan does when I'm not here. It's your turn, buddy. Do it.
Well, I believe what Jason's alluding to is that I was asked a few nights ago on a call-in show. This was neither a Miami nor a Florida State show. Somebody asked me to rank the three programs all time, meaning Florida, Florida State, and Miami. And I stated first and foremost that it was a difficult call. And then I went through all the various tangible items that I think are relevant to me and most people when rating programs. And I also think that there's a descending scale of weight, meaning I'm not one of those people that discounts a national championship from 1935 and says it doesn't count, it doesn't matter, only things after 1980 count. But I also don't believe that they're, for obvious reasons that I don't need to go into, that the 1935 national championships as credible as the 2015 national championship. So I think there's a balance of the two there. But in weighing the three programs, which certainly have brought the most to the table post 1980 by far, especially Florida State and Miami, that based on, once I went through all the variables and the highs and lows of the three programs in the last 40 to 50 years, that Florida State, based on consistent excellence, I believe, edges out Miami amongst those three programs, with Florida third.
I couldn't agree more. I think you're 100% correct. I don't say that often, but on this one, you are 100% correct. I will say this. Florida is the more consistent one out of the three. And we talked a little bit about this before the show. Florida was the team in the 40s, in the 50s, in the 60s was a, they'd go 5-4-1. They'd go 6-4. They were always that consistent team that just couldn't get over the hump. Into the 70s, into the 80s. It wasn't until the 90s when Florida finally, when Steve Spurrier comes back and Florida becomes a national power to that rank. Florida State, Miami's problem is that while Florida State was very good in the 60s under Bill Peterson, was very good in the late 80s, in the 90s, in the early 2000s under James Coleman, during that time, for all those good times, we were god-awful in the 70s. We weren't good towards the last part, the last half decade, 2006 through 2009. We've been god-awful the last 4 seasons. Miami was god-awful in the 70s. They had their downhill slide in the 90s when they first went on probation. They had 2 losing seasons, 2014, 2007, 2014, 2019. They had losing seasons. So when we've been great, we've been great. When we've been bad, we've been bad. That's why Florida fans are going to say, oh, we're better because we've been consistent. But you were consistently great. That's where I think Florida. You also look at the fact Florida didn't go to their first bowl game until after their 45 seasons. It was their 45th or 46th season of playing. Florida State went to a bowl game in our 4th season. Miami went to a bowl game in their 10th season of playing. So I would agree with you. I think Florida State would be number 1, Miami a close number 2, and Florida number 3.
And I even state that knowing that the two most obvious metrics that people run to are head-to-head and national championships, and Miami has a 35-30 lead, I believe is the number, over Florida State, and it has the national championship count 5-3. But I still am going with FSU.
Miami, though, had a great 10-year run. You could say from the 83 season to the 92 season, they had arguably the greatest 10-year run in college football history. 4 national titles, played in 2 more national title games, losing those. So 6 out of 10 seasons you're playing for a national title, that's pretty damn good. Florida State had a 5-year run from 96 to 2000 where they played for the national title 4 times. That's also pretty damn good right there. Obviously, we didn't, turn out so well. We only won 1 of those, but still, that's a damn good run right there. So I think that I get why Miami fans would want to put Miami number 1. I understand it. I could think it's a toss-up either way. I feel like Miami was worse than we were in the 70s. Bogdan came in at a time when Miami was still talking about getting rid of their program. in 76, 77, 78. Miami was a bad program at that point. So that's why I give Florida State a slight advantage.
I find it really intriguing that Miami and Florida State emerged at the same time, almost to the year. Of course, Florida State about a year or two before. Miami had their first big year in 1980. Of course, everyone remembers 83 for the national championship. But even in 1980 with Jim Kelly, that's when they became nationally relevant, top 10 to 15 team in the country. So they both rose out of nowhere from like the ashes of it being all Notre Dame, Michigan, Alabama, Ohio State, Oklahoma all the time to suddenly, boom, you got these two, and where'd they come from? And then they stayed there. But to your point, Jason, it's also intriguing to me that Miami basically has a 20-year football history. They have like roughly 1980 to 94, they played for the national title, and then they popped up around 2000 for about 4 years, and that's their legacy. Everything else doesn't matter.
James, what are your thoughts on that one? Because I know you're somebody who is part of it more than the rest of us, but you also have, you were recruited by these different schools. If you had to rank them in order, where would you rank them?
All right. Here's, I think I like the way Mark broke it down. When I look at a program that's been playing since 1911, if I'm correct.
Florida, 1906 was Florida's first season.
Okay. So they've been playing for well over 100 years, and you got 3 national championships. And you've been in a conference you're in now since 1933. When I look at Miami, Miami has 5. That's very superior teams. Cheap. That's not me saying anything. You got put on probation. They're not putting people on probation for good behavior. Typically, it's bad behavior. But when I look at consistency and what you talked about, and I'm going back, so I had to go look at these things. Florida State just had its worst season in 43 years?
1975.
43, 44 years?
75 was our worst. Was the last one, yes.
So that's when we went defeated? But we lost.
That's
We
when
didn't win a game?
We went 3-8 in 75. So that was our last. Right. So that was the worst season for them. Yeah.
It took a long time for us to have that. And even what we call, this is why I laugh, what we call the lost decade, you had opportunities in the last month of the season to still win your conference championship. You're still playing in major bowl games. Your lost decade just means you're not playing for national championships. Our lost decade, Florida would have had 3 of those during the course of that same time span. Miami would have had numerous lost decades. So when you talk about 40 years, 40 winning seasons, 36 straight bowl games, those are feats that will probably never be accomplished again. We're talking about how good 15 straight years in the top 3 or top 5? Top 5?
14, top 5. Top 5.
Whatever it is. I think a couple of them, the reason why they have to say top 5 is because we were 4 in some of those. And a lot of them were, if we were in the if we had the BCS then, Bobby plays for numerous national championships. God forbid we had the PIP system. Bobby never doesn't play in a playoff. It's the reason why I still hold him in high regard to Nick Saban. It's because a lot of things were held to the disadvantage of Florida. And you're playing some of the best of the best. So when I'm looking at, when Florida State was independent, like your schedule, people, the vaunted SEC, but you're not going in and playing the best team in the Pac-12 or Pac-10 then. You're not playing the best team in the Big 8 at that. You're not playing the best in the Big 10. You're not consistently playing one of the quote-unquote top teams in the SEC and the top team in the Big East year in and year out. if Florida State would have actually probably been in a conference like the SEC, it would have made their schedule some of these years easier. In fact, a few of those years, Bobby played 2 teams in the SEC and whooped their ass, if I remember correctly. My point, when you look at how the programs were built, you look at how consistent they were, it's a miracle that Florida State was even in the position they were in with Bobby. So that's the only reason, and I'm actually a fan of all the rivalries. I really don't like Florida. I'm a fan of Miami, but the problem is when Miami was down, they were down, right, wrong, or indifferent. And right now, even so with Miami, they'll argue the 5 rings. But your last ring was in the 2001 season. Like, a lot of guys have over half their most of their adult life you don't know of Miami in the like you're having to read history books about how good Miami was. But you can regurgitate a lot of Miami is regurgitating stats that they didn't live. And I think that's where you have to like come in. Like at least Florida can still ride the Tebow wave a little bit because it was an amazing run. They were really, really good. Florida State, 2013 feels like forever ago. But these are the things that you got to look at. Totality, even up at the current.
Logan, this is your chance, Logan. This is what you've been waiting for. This is your graduation present. Ripping on Florida and Miami at the same time.
Oh my God, y'all have way more knowledge than me.
So rip them.
Yep.
This is your Hanukkah, Christmas, Kwanzaa, Thanksgiving, Halloween, New Year's, everything all in one. Go.
Oh man, my thoughts on this is that Florida State is. Do we have a time range in there? Is there all time between Florida? All time, and we're doing Miami or Florida or just
Both.
Miami? Both.
Logan's not been listening to this entire conversation. What if he?
I thought this whole time that it was between James and Jason in the DMs earlier, so that's why I was like, well, I'm letting them.
No, Logan, stop hitting the like button and answer the question.
I'm trying to hit it a lot. People in the comments are saying that Jason needs to hit it 1,000 times if that's true about the bed experience.
Apparently, man.
I'm trying to help Jason out, but I need more time. I need to be out of Jason's age, and not saying that not of an old thing, but at least from since I've been alive, it's really been, Florida's stayed the most consistent, and Miami's had really, in my time, it's had small little moments, and it's been down. Florida State's been that second team in the state that's of the big 3 that has shined, and then now, the last couple of years has had its worst kind of experiences with opponents, but really right now, if we're speaking right now, Florida's the most consistent team in the state. I really still don't believe in where Miami's going in its trajectory. I think not really too much of a belief in what their head coach and who they have right now. I really don't think it's gonna be. I don't believe fully in it. Even who they're recruiting and the talent that they're bringing in, I still don't feel fully confident in them and being I still think Florida State's going to beat them in that race of coming back and being one of the top dogs and leading the state. I just don't believe Miami's heading in that direction. Whereas I believe right now in Florida State and the staff that they have and the belief and the process that Norvell's putting together. So.
Incredibly disappointed. You had a chance to go off the top rope, just straight up elbow dive, just right on both of our rivals, and you didn't take it.
This is not Logan's deal. This is just not his. He's got other areas where he excels. This is not the historic is not it.
Yeah, historic. The thing is, I got to go in and study a lot of these things because I could say something and be really stupid. Or I could just be like, let the people that have way more knowledge than me give their take.
It's not that we're mad, just disappointed, Logan. That's the second time I've had to point this out to you, that you're disappointing. You're disappointing your dads here.
If this was an NFL argument, Super Bowl championships and winning percentage would hold for me a ton more weight. But the national championship picture has been subjective forever. It's the least subjective now, but throughout history, there's all sorts of issues, which has caused me to produce like 7 or 8 videos talking about disputed national championships in college football. And even to James' point about winning percentage, it has a lot to do with your schedule.
Your Super Bowl is wrong, Mark. You're wrong there.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot tell me Brad Johnson was a better quarterback because he has more Super Bowl rings than Dan Marino. You cannot tell me that.
I'm not talking about rating players. I'm talking about the validity of winning a Super Bowl for a team.
Super Bowl's overrated. Yeah, I said
It's not overrated. I'm not equating it to players' performance. I'm equating it to comparing franchises. A franchise that says the New England Patriots can say we won 7 Super Bowls, or I guess they won 6. Brady left, of course. But there's a lot of weight to that. That's not the end of the conversation. But if the Patriots say we won 6 Super Bowls and the Cleveland Browns 0, well, that's a pretty good indication of how good they've been.
No.
Versus national championships in college football are sketchy.
Trent Dilfer and Brad Johnson can't hold Dan Marino's jock. That's all I'm going to say. I just said it. Can't hold his jock. Dan Marino, greatest quarterback ever.
Joe Thomas played left tackle for the Cleveland Browns and is one of the greatest in history and will be a first ballot Hall of Famer. He never played in a playoff game. That doesn't mean he's no good. It means the team sucked.
Because your Browns suck. That's the difference.